I am 36 years old. I'm from New Haven County, Connecticut.
Tell me 3 words that best describe you.
Mama, goofy, and resilient.
What do you value most?
What I value most is having experiences. I received a metastatic breast cancer diagnosis after I found a lump in my left breast by myself. And I don't recall the exact moment because it wasn't it didn't cause me any concern or worry. Like a lot of people, I believed, I don't have a history in my family. So cancer was not on my radar at all. And even though I wasn't nervous about it, I'm not one of those people who skips doctor's appointments, and I make them when I feel I need to. So I very quickly reached out to my doctor and asked for an appointment. And thankfully, she got me right in, and she was not dismissive. She could tell that, I was gonna push her until I had peace of mind. So she went ahead and scheduled the ultrasound, even though she didn't feel very concerned. And at the ultrasound was when I started to get concerned, because the ultrasound tech, she looked concerned, and then she called someone else in to look at it, and they could tell I was getting nervous. So they said, we're gonna schedule you for a biopsy elsewhere, but you're young, it's probably, some sort of cyst or something. The following week, I went in and had a biopsy done. It was pretty quick and painless with my wonderful breast surgeon, and she just looked at me and she said, okay, well, we got this done, and either, it's not cancer or it is. And she was like, if it's not, wonderful, you don't have to see me again. But if it is, then, we're in this together. And that gave me a lot of peace. The next couple days, I really tried to distract myself by just being even more busy with my kids. And it was a Friday night, and I was actually baking with them, which sounds like something out of a movie, but that's what we happened to be doing. And I got a phone call, and it was the breast surgeon. And, I wasn't panicked, but I had the kids all around, so I went and took the call in the bathroom. And I was like, well, she's calling, so it must be nothing, And she just said, I usually would do this in person, but unfortunately I'm about to go away for 2 weeks. So I wanted to let you know myself that, unfortunately the results came back that it was cancer. And I really don't remember much else what she said after that. I was just in a daze. I wasn't hysterical, I didn't cry. But she scheduled everything with her staff to take care of me. I had just a whole whirlwind of tests and scans for the next 3 weeks, and she included full body scans, and that's when we saw there was one tiny spot in my liver. And I remember her saying, don't worry about it, everyone has some stuff in their liver, but that's not the word she used. So I didn't worry about it, and I was like, all right, I'll get a liver biopsy, which I did. And the following week, I went and nearly skipping into her office, not expecting anything. She hadn't called me with any results, so I just figured it's nothing, and I'm just gonna hear what we're gonna do to start treatment. Like, we're gonna do a lumpectomy, and possibly chemo, maybe not even that. And then I would move on with my life. But when I sat down, I mean, she has the most wonderful bedside manner, and she, I think, could tell someone the absolute worst news in a way where they would not completely lose their mind, and that is what she did for me. And she just let me know, unfortunately, it was cancer in your liver, and it's breast cancer, so it metastasized. And she explained what that meant, and that it meant that I was a stage 4 breast cancer patient. And again, I was just completely zoned out in that moment, and the rest of the day, I had to go meet my oncologist right after that, and I was just like a zombie. And one wonderful thing she did for me was she scheduled me an appointment with my personal therapist, who I'd known at that point for a couple of years, because she knew I would need her that day. So that was the day of my diagnosis, and that I learned that I was metastatic. I think I didn't fully understand what it meant, but I had a general idea of what it meant, and I feel like it was a good enough idea for me to have some panic inside, because you hear metastatic and you may just be like, what does that mean? Which was the case for me. But hearing stage 4, I'm just like, I'm in the grave, immediately. And I just my main feeling was just disbelief. Like, I felt like this cannot be real. This can't really be happening. And it took me a minute to wrap my mind around, oh, this is happening to you. My initial and only emotion was really just disbelief. It was quiet. I wish I could say it was happy, but it was not happy, and the cancer diagnosis kind of, I think, shoved that in my face and made me look at it more, because it caused me to feel like, oh, I don't really have time to keep doing life the way that I'm doing it. But it very much revolved around me being a stay-at-home mom, tradition, and my church community, and my marriage. My perspective on life has changed since my diagnosis, in a way that I just don't have I'm aware that I don't have the luxury of thinking that I have all the time in the world. It's a really weird way to live. It's a great way to live for everyone. I highly recommend it. But it's also weird because it feels like you're very awake in a world where a lot of people are asleep, because they feel like I have all this time. And I just really realized that that's how I was living my life. I was living it banking on having a second act, so to speak. And I imagined, doing lots of things when my children got older, specifically. And it really made me realize, I have to do all I can do while I can do it. There isn't any other time than now. One thing that is really important to me is the mental effect that this diagnosis has. I think that's something I wish people knew also, specifically about metastatic breast cancer. That it's a trauma, and it's one that doesn't go away. So I'm constantly having to learn how to navigate it and live with it, live beside it. So that gets really challenging. When I need support, I turn to my fellow thrivers, other women in particular living with metastatic breast cancer. Sometimes I turn to my caregivers. It really depends on the type of support I need in the moment. I'll still turn to, obviously, the friends who have known me since before my diagnosis, but as we know, you can't always share with caregivers and friends who knew you before your diagnosis when it's feelings that stem from the diagnosis. Sometimes they don't understand even if they want to, so it depends on the type of support I'm seeking, but thankfully I have so much support around me, so I'm never without when I do need it. I would 100% recommend diving into the cancer community, which I understand when someone's newly diagnosed, that can feel extremely scary. It took me a while to realize that I needed that community. As much as I was struggling to accept that I was a part of it, and so I was trying to avoid it, but it truly helped me. I always say I really felt like I was just free falling in a black hole when I was first diagnosed. And a friend who did not have cancer, she was just a childhood friend, she sent me information about a cancer app, and that was my first cancer community. And I found people and just felt like I wasn't free falling anymore. It felt like someone just came and caught me. So I would highly recommend people lean into the community that gets it. And I'd also recommend therapy, specifically oncology trained therapists, which I did not know existed until I was diagnosed. I can imagine hope. The word imagine sparks the same feeling and image in my mind as hope does. I'm definitely a realist, but I'm also a really good high dose of dreamer. And I know very well what statistics say about my particular cancer, but I also like to imagine all of the things that can happen, because I truly believe as long as I have breath, anything can happen.